Hello. Okay, there we go. My favorite part is how people are always complaining about being late when I said 8:50 and it's 8:52. Let's all settle down here. It's not a big deal. What are you knocking on wood?
No, I'm knocking on the door.
Oh. All right. Wait. Try that again. Now I understand. Okay. Wait. Don't go yet. I'm going to Hello everyone. What a shame we don't have any Noah. Oh, hello. Who is it? Wait, let me get the door for you. Oh,
Hey,
look who it is.
Hello.
Oh, just in time.
Yes.
Your mom was wondering where you were.
As she often does. No, I'm just kidding.
Look at this. 2 minutes late.
2 minutes late.
My goodness. I think I'm probably fired.
What can you
Right?
do? I mean, they need to see you. Like if they go more than a minute without seeing you.
Yeah, it's just they have the podcast just plays on a loop for a full week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it is. Let me just pull up our audio recording. Okay. Just think about this.
Uh-huh.
In like 15 hours, we're gonna see Craig. He's coming back.
He's gonna do something funny.
He had every single keynote that Craig has ever been in has had Craig jokes.
You know it's coming.
Big thanks again to Cole. Cole is really the MVP. My goodness.
Yeah, seriously.
Absolute legend. Oh man, I'm so excited to see Craig Federgehi.
Craig
Federgehi. I cannot wait to see Craig Federgehi. Oh man, because I think which was the first keynote that Craig was in?
I have no idea. You're the keynote historian.
I know the first time that he had like a big role, I think was the Mavericks WWDC 2013.
That was the crack marketing team.
Yes. Or no, was that the switch to you? No, yeah, you're right.
I think no, because that was when they were switching from the big cats to the places. And they said they were running out of big cats. I'm pretty sure about that.
Let's find out. I think it's either that or it might have been Yosemite.
I think it was Mavericks. That's my bet.
Wait. WWDC Mac OS naming. Where? I was right.
Well, hang on a second.
Wait. All right.
No.
Turn the volume up because no one else can see this. But now, or actually, I'll just share the. No,
Yeah.
they'll hear the audio twice.
Mm.
It was just a year ago here at WWDC when we narrowly averted a major OS X naming crisis.
So hang on. So go back
we
a
both
year
right,
ago.
though?
We were able to
Wait.
definitely shift from names based on big cats to names based on beautiful places in
He does the
California.
crack marketing team here. He did it multiple years.
With OS
Yeah,
X
but
Mavericks.
I think this is where he said
It's another
weed.
year and time for another
Oh well,
name.
yeah, I think so.
And
Yeah.
we collected our crack product marketing team, shoved them in their VW minibus, and set them out on the road. Now, they first ventured south, discovering OS X Oxnard.
All right, so it won't be that. We know that now.
Mm-hmm.
But undeterred, they headed east, landed in OS X Rancho Cucamonga. Still, we hadn't quite hit the mark. So
Here it
they
comes, the
boldly
big
ventured north.
funny moment.
Landing at OS X weed.
But see, look at that first video. That's the one that I was talking about.
Oh, I didn't know about that one.
That was when that was from the year before when they switched to when they did Mavericks and they made the switch, and that was the
Yeah,
first.
I
that
thought
was
you said you were referring to the weed one though.
no.
You said like when did they? Or what
No,
were you
no.
harking back to?
The question was, when was the first time that Craig was in the keynote? And I said it was when they switched to Mavericks and they switched from the Big Cat names to the places in California.
Oh,
which
I
was a
must have
year
just misheard
before.
you because that's
Yeah.
where. Because I can't remember where. I don't know if he was in keynotes earlier.
He might have been, but I don't remember. Oh,
His
2009?
first appearance on stage during a major Apple event was WWDC 2009. And apparently he was nervous.
And this is great, but as we've added full screen apps now,
No one can see this. Let me turn the volume down and I'll just screen share this so everyone can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. And of course, the YouTube comment section beat us to it.
Yep.
They beat us to it. Snow Leopard in 2009. Indeed, indeed. I will share my screen. You might hear some doubled audio potentially. Oh, good.
That's
God.
not, it's going to make you restart Chrome.
I think it might work regardless.
You can try it.
We'll do the other Chrome tab here. I think it's working. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Where's
Whoa.
Craig? Oh, here comes Craig.
Oh, there he is.
He doesn't seem that nervous.
No.
Someone said no sound. Do I have to turn up my volume for?
You might have.
Oh, I know what happened. Hang on. I did a dumb.
Yeah.
I forgot to check audio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it. Okay, now we're good.
I see what's hot.
Ooh.
Staff favorites. Great way to track what's going on.
They're saying this is the
I
wrong.
also have top charts.
No, this is a year
One.
later.
Here I can see the
Yeah.
top
This isn't
paid
2009.
top free apps.
But
per
apparently
app
this is
store.
him being
Over here in
nervous.
categories,
He doesn't
I
seem
don't-
that
great
nervous.
place to go if I'm
Yeah.
looking for something to purchase. It's just one click on the buy button. When I'm in here, I then can use gestures to move between the pages.
Nah, Craig's
of the PDF.
an OG. Craig does not miss. He was not nervous at all.
Craig is good to go.
He's a legend. Air Force One. I mean, it's an icon, really. You can't disagree with it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was a very unprofessional couple of minutes there, but that's all right. It's 9:00, which means we can hop into the good old fashioned. Wait, is this the right audio recording? Got to make sure I got that right. We'll hop into the podcast. I didn't write a thing.
You did not. As usual.
As usual. Ooh. Dang it. We really should have thought of this because it's WWDC. It's a great opportunity for a good WWDC themed
Intro.
Oh, this is awkward. Now I have to come up with this before. Now we're a minute late on starting the podcast on time. Okay. A good WWDC pun. I got nothing. I can't think of anything.
How about
All right.
I don't know. That's what they did before. Remember that? I don't know. Just say something else then.
Oh, when with Tim?
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, it was. Oh, yeah. Okay. When? Yeah. I don't know. Say something.
Okay. I'll just have to wing it. I'll just wing it. That's what we always do.
Yes.
Kinda. Okay. Here we go.
Is it the right input?
Welcome to Dark Mode, the podcast that brings you sage advice from two technology experts. And that's not just what we call ourselves. It's what our moms tell people when Tim Cook steals the M1 chip. I'm your host, Luke Miani.
And I'm your host, Noah Rubin. On this show, we take questions from listeners, attempt to answer them to varying degrees of success, and maybe even have a laugh or two along the way.
And maybe even ask if I'm using the right input right at the beginning of the podcast episode, which I think definitely will be audible in the recording, but that's okay.
Well, maybe I was going to say that you could have maybe trimmed it a little bit, but now it has to stay in.
Oh yeah, no, it's in there.
It's in there.
It's
all right.
baked in there. That's just a part of life here, folks. We didn't have the crack marketing team out in time, and that's just one of those things that happens. So anyway, we are 15 hours out from WWDC as of this recording. Now, I would suspect, Noah, that this week's episode will not be listened to very much on podcasting platforms.
Well, the one thing I will say is, yes, obviously in 15 hours or so, we'll know everything that's going to happen because the event's going to happen. But you can re-listen to this episode, and when you hear all the stuff that we say we think is going to happen or that might happen, if we get it right, you can say, "Wow, those two are so smart. They really know what they're talking about."
Yeah.
And if we get it wrong, you can say, "Wow, those two have some really good ideas. Apple should take a page out of their book."
Oh, that's interesting. I thought you were going to go for if we were right, then, obviously we're very smart, very intelligent, technology experts, all of that stuff.
Right.
But if we were wrong, then, how could we know? This was before WWDC. You can't hold it against us.
That is also true.
So, speaking of which, why don't we talk about what we expect to see? Now, we've heard from a lot of sources that tomorrow is going to be a pretty fun day. But we don't know exactly what that means, because I feel like we hear that a lot, and then sometimes it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think this one is there's a critical mass of people that say big things at WW this year, but there's always been a couple of, shall we say, tricksters, hucksters, shenanigan perpetrators.
Oh boy.
That hit the leaks a couple of weeks before, and they go, "I happen to know that this year is going to be very exciting." And then it isn't, and they say, "Oh, well, that's what I meant." And it's like, all right, clearly this is fake. There's so much fake stuff going around on Twitter. It's kind of crazy. But sort of sorting through all of those things leaves us with basically, I guess, 5 major announcements.
Okay.
Now, I guess it kind of depends on, the number depends on what you qualify as being a big announcement. So every year at WWDC, there's watchOS, iOS, iPadOS, macOS. So those 4 are guaranteed. Probably tvOS is in there as well.
Yeah.
But usually it's pretty minor. I think the last big tvOS update was 2015, right? When they moved to the new tile design.
That was the first, wasn't it the real first tvOS? Because before, I don't think it was called tvOS.
Oh, you're right. I don't know if it was tvOS before that.
I think it was just like Apple TV software. Like, I don't think it had that name. So
Yeah.
I think the last time they did anything big was when they did anything at all, basically.
Yeah. And maybe it was considered maybe it was just like a fork of iOS, because it did have the iOS 8, iOS 10 aesthetic.
Yeah. I just don't think it had the name at that time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Or maybe they even called it iOS. I don't know. Someone said that it was called iOS, which I don't know about that. But anyway, those are guaranteed. And honestly, it seems like iOS and iPadOS are going to get some decently big coverage, because every single aspect about the promotion for WW has been iMessage.
Right.
And I cannot imagine that would not be a big part of this. You know what I mean? What else? Why would they be doing that so much if iMessage isn't going to get some big upgrade? And also, what would it be? It's a messaging app.
That is an interesting question. I agree, because I get it's developer community, talk to your friends, talk to your coworkers. I don't know, but like everything, the hash flag is the tap back. I got an ad earlier today for WWDC, and they had like the text bubbles, and they had the firework, the effect, whatever those are called, where you send an effect with your message.
Came out years ago, and no one uses them.
That was like iOS 10. I feel like
I think it was.
That was a long time ago. So I feel like the fact that all of it is iMessage theme, it could be a coincidence, but I'd like to think that it isn't. And to answer your question about what it could be, I could see Apple. I'm gonna put my phone on do not disturb. I think what it could be is somewhat of a shift or somewhat of an introduction of a social network, not Facebook level kind of thing. But I did hear a rumor about like an online status that would reflect, like, you know, if you're online, like what you're doing, stuff like that. I could definitely see that coming. I think that would be pretty cool, actually.
I'm kind of torn about that. I've heard the rumors basically suggesting that Apple could turn iOS into a quasi social networking site, not site, but like service. Yeah. I'm not sure what utility that would actually have, though. Like, I just don't really see why you'd need that. Maybe I could see a way to, like, would you have iMessage followers? I don't think so.
No, I don't think
they're going to turn it into like a full on, like a Twitter type of thing where you can follow people.
Oh, absolutely
I think it's
not.
Based in messaging and group chats
and privacy.
That's
going to be the big thing. It's not going to be Facebook or Twitter. It's going to be just for you and the people that you know. It's privacy.
Okay. So, but again, I feel like that's still, it wouldn't be social media.
Right.
It wouldn't be a social networking app. It would basically just be more iMessage features, but it would, like, without adding social networking to it, you're still limited to conversations, group chats, stuff like that.
I just
FaceTime
realized
already exists for like face-to-face conversations.
Right.
You can have audio calls with multiple people.
Right.
Maybe it's sort of unifying those things and having that be centralized within iMessage instead of going to the FaceTime app or the phone app.
I think it's basically like AOL Instant Messenger. That's what it is. Think about that.
Ooh.
That's what it is. It's
right.
iMessage, but you add, you know, the online indicator. And that's it.
That's AOL.
So we're going a little retro
we're going
here.
back in time. Well, they're already going back to 1998 with the iMacs.
That's true. So it's definitely a pattern.
And
100%.
Apparently the new Mac Mini that I don't think we're going to get tomorrow, but that would be awesome if we did. I don't know, maybe we could. It's actually quite possible. Because if it's using the same chips, we'll get into the hardware in a minute, but the design that has been rendered by Ian Zelbo, who's amazingly talented, and based on the leaks by John Prosser, it's basically a throwback to the original Mac Mini, if you remember what that looked like. It was, I mean, pretty similar to the current one, you know, little silver box with rounded corners.
Didn't have white plastic on it?
Yeah, it had a plastic top, which was also, you know, for the antennas and stuff.
Right.
That's what the rumor is for the new Mac Mini, is that it would be kind of going back to that, which I think would be nice. Like a plexiglass, polycarbonate, probably not glass top, because I feel like you'd be able to crack it pretty easily.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a solid product, and I think it's going to retain the same starting price.
All right.
Okay, wait. We'll get back into hardware in a little bit.
Yes.
Let's continue to talk about software. So we think we're going to get some iMessage things.
Yes.
But another thing that I saw today on Twitter that was really interesting and is similar to what Noah and I have been talking about in regards to iPadOS is improved multitasking. So I saw this image that was implied to be an internal image that showed basically having 3 side-by-side windows. So like, you know how you can drag in a window on the side? It
Right.
would basically be 3 tiles. Similar look.
Right.
They had like the little bar on top so you could slide them around and rearrange them. And I don't know if they would have 3 of like the little swipe up bars. That would be pretty funny.
Yeah. Bit of a mess.
But I mean, it would kind of be useful though, because if you have, so you've got 3 applications open on your screen, okay?
Mhm.
And then each of those has the little like home bar at the bottom. Is that what it's called? What's the official term for that thing?
I think it might be home.
I think it might be home bar.
It might be.
Sounds good. I'm going
Yeah.
to go with that.
Go
If
for
it's
it.
not that, then it should be that. So that's how I'm going to cover my ass on that one.
Uh-huh.
But you've got 3 windows, 3 home bars. At the top, you have like the little thing and you can drag it around so you can rearrange the windows. At the bottom, you've got the home bar. Let's say you have 3 more applications waiting in the wings. Well, you can swipe left and right to toggle between them. So each of those 3 windows could be switching back and forth between 2 different applications, thus effectively giving you 6. And you could swipe up on one of those individual things and go into another expose.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be a bit of a cramped experience on the 11-inch iPad Pro. I'll tell you that much. Oh man, that's a lot of room. That's a lot of things in a small little space, don't you think?
I do think that, and it's entirely possible that the 11-inch just wouldn't get that as an option.
Yeah, like it's weird because Mac OS kind of makes sense as being something that can be supported on many different Macs, because even the small ones are not that small. But iPad OS runs on an iPad Mini. 3 windows on an iPad Mini? Are you kidding me?
Right.
That would look terrible. So, I don't know. I really feel like I wouldn't be mad if they had certain features only be available on like the 12.9. Because it's not even a matter of like, oh, they're locking me out. It's a matter of like, I don't even have a use for this.
Right.
If you're on a 7.9-inch display and you're trying to have 3 different windows open, like, can an A12 chip even handle that? iPad OS runs on like old A10 stuff.
Yeah.
An A10 chip can't handle 3 concurrent applications. There's like 2 gigs of RAM.
Right. That's kind of the thing, because Luke and I have been discussing this quite a bit, and a lot. Like the thing that I said is like, if they're gonna put the M1 in the iPad Pro, that to me signals that they're trying to do. They got to do something big with it, right? They could have called it the A14X. It would have been the same. Like let's all agree, it would have been the same or basically the same as the M1. But the fact that they called it the M1 is a marketing decision, and it means that they're trying to say, look, this chip that's in our laptops and it's in our desktops as well is now in the iPad. So they're saying that the iPad is a desktop class or full computer class machine.
They're saying it's a desktop class.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then, but iPad OS doesn't match that expectation by a long shot. And everyone agrees it's the software that holds back the hardware. Even
and has been for
my
since
2018.
the inception of the iPad Pro in 2015. That has been the major complaint, and it still has not caught up with it, to be honest.
Not by a long shot.
Yeah, and it's a little unfortunate. But I want to point out a number of people are saying Mac OS on the iPad, Mac OS on the iPad. Guys, it's not going to happen. Okay? The thing is about Mac OS on the iPad, we've not heard any information indicating that that's going to happen. Obviously it's technically possible. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
An iPad is literally just a different shaped Mac Mini. It's totally technically possible, but I don't think it makes any sense from like first of all, on a very fundamental level, you'd have to make some changes to Mac OS for it to work with a touchscreen. Mac OS just does not it's not unless Apple's completely changing what macOS is tomorrow. This might date really badly.
I doubt
But
it.
macOS, it's like you can't just put macOS on an iPad. It would have to be reinvented to make sense with touch inputs, because currently it is not. Like the gestures, all the screen gestures would be useless. There is no analog to that in macOS. There's no home screen in macOS.
Right.
Like none of those things translate. It would be very clunky. But I don't want to say that it's not ever possible, because personally, I think it's not possible. I think it's never going to happen. However, I did get some information a couple of 2 weeks ago, actually, but I forgot to make a video on it. Might still make a video on it. I do want to show it to you because it's a lot of internal stuff.
Okay.
But apparently, someone discovered deep within some beta, one of the macOS betas or the iPadOS beta, I don't remember. I need to look at the Twitter thread again. They basically discovered evidence that Apple has, in fact, put macOS on an iPad, at the very least for testing.
Mm-hmm.
And in an advanced enough stage that it made it through accidentally in this beta. And I'll give it to you, and if it's credible, I will make a video on that, depending on what happens tomorrow. If macOS does end up getting put on the iPad tomorrow and my mind ends up being blown, then I guess you heard about it here first. Because, well, I can pull it up. I mean, I think I can find it. It's in here somewhere.
And while you're looking for it,
Yeah.
I will just say, for all the people saying, that they want macOS on the iPad Pro, the main thing, and the thing I was trying to get at before with the M1 being on the iPad, is you have a very there's a lot of iPads. There's like the iPad Pro and the iPad Air at the top end, and the Air is, it can do whatever the 11-inch Pro can do. But then there's also the regular iPad and the iPad Mini. And so the problem with iPadOS, I think this is kind of the fundamental problem, is that if they have one iPadOS for all of the different devices, then you have on the one end a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, and on the other end you have the 7.9-inch iPad Mini. It's a lot less powerful. The screen's a lot smaller. Now, to be fair, the Mac is the same deal, right? You have the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and you go up to the 27-inch iMac, and maybe we'll even get a 30-inch iMac when it gets the M1 or M1X or whatever it's going to get. And so macOS, I guess, has solved that issue. Obviously, it's a desktop operating system, so it was sort of engineered to solve that issue. But iPadOS has not solved that issue, and that's sort of the main thing, is that if you diverge too much for the iPad Pro, then iPadOS doesn't have as much meaning anymore, because the iPadOS on an iPad Mini is going to be different than the iPadOS on an iPad Pro. And then you can make the argument, do you put macOS on the iPad Pro? I don't think it's going to happen. That could be one solution. iPadOS has slowly been moving in the direction of becoming more powerful, like the trackpad support recently. But the main thing is right now, I think Apple's problem is that they have such a wide range of devices that are going to run iPadOS, that it's hard to make these pro features, real multitasking and real trackpad support and all that, when the iPad Mini and the regular iPad are still there. So that's my 2 cents.
I could not for the life of me find this. I need to go back in here, and it's in my Twitter DM somewhere. But I don't know. The reason I think iPadOS, if Apple were to put macOS on an iPad, it would cannibalize the Mac. It just would, because the whole point, people say, oh, well, then I wouldn't need to buy a Mac and an iPad. I could just do it all at the same time. Yeah, that's the problem. Apple wants you to buy a Mac and an iPad. That's why those two products aren't drifting together. Apple said a couple of years ago, like 2 or 3, I think, didn't they say, it was like the big no meme, is the iPad and the Mac just going to merge into one thing? And they said no. To me, that tells you all you need to know, that if macOS has been tested on iPads, it was probably to see how certain features could be adapted,
Right.
which would be great because I don't want Mac OS on an iPad. I just don't want that. Because I mean, first of all, you'd be splitting storage, right? You'd have to dual boot. Like I'm sure Apple would come up with some way to share a file system, but there's no way for an iPad to dual boot macOS and iPadOS without it being really awkward and clunky.
I wouldn't even think dual boot. I'd think they would just
What,
people
just
are
get rid of
basically
iPadOS?
people are basically asking them to not get rid of it, but I guess only use it on the iPad Mini and the iPad, maybe the iPad Air as well, even though it's basically the Pro. That's what it seems like people would want at that point.
But at the same time, I feel like there's limitations to iPadOS, but there's also limitations to macOS in that form factor.
Right.
Like, what are you going to replace the camera app with Photo Booth? You want to do that? Or like, there's no, because that's, I guess the point that I'm trying to make is when people say I want macOS on an iPad, that's not what they're actually saying. They don't want macOS Big Sur to be running on an iPad screen because it would be a terrible experience. They want iPadOS to be more like macOS because there is no way that macOS as it is runs on an iPad and everyone loves it. That is not going to happen. I mean, even just a matter of like the top menu bar wouldn't fit with the curved display. The Apple logo for the About This iPad would be cut off. So there is no, just put it on there. It's all the same. It doesn't matter. That is not a compatible situation, even though obviously it can run on an iPad because it's the same thing. It's just, it does not realistically make sense. And it would be a clunky half-baked product and it would cannibalize their other products. It makes no sense to me.
That we've spent first part. I was gonna say that first part about they don't want Mac OS, they want better iPadOS. That was pretty much verbatim what I was gonna say.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's really all there is to say about it. Like, there is absolutely no way that you're gonna get Mac OS Big Sur on an iPad and be happy about it. It's just not gonna work.
Nope.
Especially an 11-inch. What?
Yeah. there did used to be an 11-inch MacBook Air.
I believe the diagonal was 11.6. It might not sound like a big difference, but it's a pretty big difference.
That's fair.
Let me look this up to double check. MacBook Air 11. What was the diagonal? Oh man, this is going to take me a million years to find. 11.6-inch widescreen LED display. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. Someone was like, "Oh, Apple's. We've had Macs with 11-inch displays." It's not the same thing. 0.6 of a difference is not insignificant.
That's true.
I mean, look at the 15-inch to the 16-inch. Everyone's like, "Oh, wow, so much more space." That's about 0.6 of an inch. It's a big difference. Okay, so macOS. I guess since we've been talking about macOS, what do we expect to see? I haven't heard really anything at all. I've heard nothing about macOS.
I don't think I have either. And if I had to guess, I'd say that's because it's going to be relatively minor, given that Big Sur was like pretty big.
This will probably be bigger, Sur.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine if they did that? Like we had Sierra and High Sierra. What if they do Biggest Sur?
I would love like Large Sur.
Yes,
that would just one of those.
That would be so funny. That would be an epic. Okay, wait. We were talking about Craig goofs. How could Craig possibly not make a Bigger Sur joke?
I do hope that happens.
Because they've had so many double names in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, actually, since I guess High Sierra was the only one in the modern age, in the California age.
Yeah.
But there was Leopard and Snow Leopard, Lion and Mountain Lion. I just think it would be so funny if he just says Bigger Sir as a Craig joke.
I
We should put that on our bingo board.
we could put that on there.
Speaking of the bingo board, look at that segue. That was not planned, by the way.
Oh yeah.
We have made an updated bingo board. I'm going to pull this up on the screen because this doesn't matter. I just typed bingo into Google. That's not the. So go to Dark Mode Podcast. Wow, look at that. It auto filled the search.
That's good.
Wow. darkmodepodcast.com/bingo. And you will arrive at, I'm sharing my screen. I'm clicking on the tab. And there it is. You will arrive at a blank bingo board. Now, you'll notice 2 buttons. It's a very simple interface. We took the background cues from the materials. There's not a lot of color to it. The previous one for the Apple event in April was very colorful. This one's not, but it's very simple. You just click edit, and all of the tiles turn into clickable things. So we'll say Tim Cook says, "Good morning." I think I've really honed in my Tim Cook.
I think so.
Good morning.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
So I'll put over here, Craig says, "Bigger Sir," or something like that.
Right.
And then all you have to do is click save. And when something happens, you can click on the tile to fill in the board. And then you can go ahead and click this little tweet button, which has brought me into a new tab, so you can't see it. But when you click the tweet button, it will get your board compiled into the URL. It'll tweet out a link, and so and it uses the hashtag Apple Event Bingo, which is what we are going to be monitoring on our stream tomorrow, so that we can see what you guys have come up with as we are working on our bingo board. So it should be a lot of fun. Definitely check out darkmodepodcast.com/bingo. I'm going to take down this screen share, but I will put up a banner. Ooh, I had that one ready to go.
There you go.
Look at that. And also, I just want to say our color scheme here is actually quite matching.
Yeah.
We've got the purple in our banner. We've got the purple behind us. And it's sort of like the purpley colors for Dub Dub.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. I think we'll have to keep this color for the stream tomorrow.
I agree.
I think it fits pretty well. But not the jackets, though, because we'll be really hot.
Yeah.
Hotter than we already are.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 76. So it could be a little cooler. Anyway, go to darkmodepodcast.com/bingo, fill out a bingo board, hit the tweet button. Then we'll see it. We'll put it on the show. It's going to be a fun time.
I'm looking forward to it.
Big shout out to Noah. I'm shouting you out.
Oh.
Good job.
Oh, jeez.
Good job, Noah.
Thanks.
That's the shout out. I got to do it in person. I'm so grateful.
Wow.
Purple rules. Spoken like the owner of a purple iMac.
Future. Technically.
Current owner, but future possessor as well.
Yes.
The purple iMac that has been featured in a couple of my videos is actually belonging to Noah's mom, and she's been kind enough to ship it to us and let us play with it before we replace her 2012 21.5-inch iMac. So she literally went from the first of one generation to the first of the new generation 9 years later.
Yeah.
Impressive. But anyway, where were we? Yes, do the bingo board. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you guys. We'll be live an hour before WWDC, and it's going to be a freaking party. Dub Dub is always fun. Last year we tried to stream it. It didn't go so well.
No.
It didn't go so well. So if any of you guys were here last year when we tried to stream WWDC, we tried to put the stream in our stream so that we could talk about it, obviously. And Apple did not like that. We got a copyright strike. Well, I got a copyright strike.
Yes.
And it still haunts me to this day. It's been a year, and if I go on my YouTube studio, it is just permanently affixed a big red banner that says channel violations.
Yep.
Active community guidelines strikes. It's been a year, folks. YouTube needs to chill with that stuff. It is like way extra. My goodness. Anyway, so yeah, we will not have WWDC embedded in our stream. We've done this a couple of times now, but people still get confused. I don't know how. Every time we've done a stream since that fateful day, I get comments where they're like, "Where's the stream? Well, why don't you guys have the stream in there?" And it's like, okay, listen, maybe would be nice. We can't stream because of copyright reasons, so we go live an hour beforehand to talk about it, and then when the event starts, we give you guys cues to sync your stream up with us, because obviously we're going to be on a little bit of a delay, but it's not that bad. In fact, I wonder because if you watch on YouTube is already delayed from Apple.
Mm-hmm.
So if you watch our stream and we're watching Apple, then we build in that delay into our stream, and then you might be able to sync up with YouTube. That would be pretty clever.
That was on
either
purpose.
Way, that was calculated for sure. But regardless, we will give you guys some cues to sync up, and you can watch along with us during the actual event. We had some really good reactions that people very much enjoyed last time. It was a lot of fun, and I promise we only talk during the boring parts. We're not like jammering on. Well, Tim Cook is announcing the M1X. We're not a couple of assholes like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be very fun. Someone said macOS Golden Gate. I don't like that.
Okay. I had to call him out like that. Come on.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm
just gonna leave up this dark mode.
Yeah,
leave
it
thing.
up.
I'm just gonna leave it up the whole time.
There were some interesting names in the chat. I saw macOS New Jersey.
No. That would be terrible.
Yeah.
I would not download that.
You would just skip that version?
I would maybe pass through it on the macOS Turnpike.
Uh-huh.
But I wouldn't stop.
I see.
Yeah. This is East Coast jokes. If you guys are from the West Coast or any other country,
yeah,
you're gonna be like, what's the big deal? It's like a meme on the East Coast that everyone kind of dumps on New Jersey.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's even like warranted, but you got to do it. It's part of the part. It's a meme. You got to do it.
Yeah. They call it like the armpit of America, right? Or is that Florida?
I believe it.
One of them's the arm. One of the two.
Florida
of them
was the trash can.
Then I think New Jersey's the armpit.
That sounds right.
I'm pretty sure.
macOS main line. How did they know that we're from the main line?
That's a local one. Local reference.
macOS Raleigh, North Carolina. Why?
I could honestly see. Let me just say, I don't think that Apple will run out of names in California, but if they wanted to expand to like places where like other places where Apple campuses or Apple buildings are, other places in the US, other places around the world, I don't think they will. They got plenty of California names, but if they wanted to do that, I could see it.
I do wonder what they'll call it. I feel like every year, that's one of the things that no one has leaked to date. No one's gotten a macOS name in advance.
That's true, actually. It's kind of impressive.
I know, it's pretty. Although I guess it makes sense. Maybe they just don't tell anyone. macOS 12 name. Let's see what people have. Monterey. I feel like we've heard that a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Mammoth. Both of those were actually registered by Apple in April. Interesting. But I feel like they register a whole bunch as decoys. Like, that's pretty simple to think.
Yeah. I feel like Monterey would be nice. Mammoth, that almost, but then that has the connotation of being like a really big thing. And if it's a
People
small
will
year,
think it's a big download.
yeah. Oh, and then they're not going to download. Yeah.
Yeah, Okay, let me read the full thing about the trademarks. Yeah, Mammoth and Monterey, it looks like that's what was the two. I just don't really think that it's between those two. Apparently, Apple trademarked several names in 2013 and 14 with shell corporations. Interesting. And some of those were Diablo, Condor, Tiburon, Farallon. I'm assuming that's a Spanish pronunciation.
I'm not. Tiburon is shark in Spanish.
No, this one.
Yeah, I know that one. I don't know what that is, but
Okay.
very well could be.
Miramar.
Rincon is corner in Spanish, but I don't know if that's actually what it is.
Pacific, Redwood, Shasta, Grizzly, Skyline, and Redtail. Skyline is not a California thing. Is that a place in California?
I have no idea.
I'm sure someone in the chat will say. Oh, they abandoned Skyline.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So apparently, so Mammoth was filed in 2013, but the status update was on April 29th. And Monterey was filed also in 2013 and was status updated on December 29th of last year. I wouldn't necessarily go on that because I feel like I'm fairly certain Monterey was rumored last year. I remember people talking about that. But either way, here's one I can't repeat but is amusing. macOS Little Big Sur. It's like Big Little Lies. Big Lies.
Little Big Planet game.
There you go. Is that a game?
I think so. Never played it.
macOS Oakland. Yeah, I mean, the name is obviously inconsequential, but I guess back to what we were talking about earlier, I really don't know what it would be called. So I guess we might as well just move on and talk about the hardware. We've put it off for too long, I think. Everyone wants to know about the MacBook Pro. So I guess, I don't know, I could go through. I had a video with some rumored exclusive information. Not sure about the credibility of it, but we will find out tomorrow. So there we go. And I'll compile a more recent, like if that video ends up being relevant, I'll see what of it was correct. But basically, here's what I think. We know that there's going to be two different versions of the M1X. One is called the Jade C die, and one is called the Jade C chop. And basically that refers to two different binning nodes. And basically the chop is just half as many GPU cores. So that would be 16, and then the full fat would be 32. Now, we have seen some information that would suggest that both the 16 and 32 variants will be present on both the 14 and 16 inch. So it's probable that there could be 4 different SKUs of these new MacBook Pros. And that's, of course, in addition to an updated Mac Mini, which may or may not come out tomorrow as well. So that's already very interesting. That's already 6 different configurations of, I think, very compelling things to have. Noah and I have talked about some of the coverage that I'm planning on doing for these MacBook Pros, and there's a lot of really interesting angles that I want to take, especially if there are those 4 different configurations. Now, the CPU is going to be the same on all of those. That's going to be 10 cores with 8 performance and 2 efficiency. That one was a surprise to a lot of people. We had assumed that they would retain the 4 efficiency cores because that's what they've just been doing. I mean, the iPhone has 4 efficiency cores, the iPad has 4 efficiency, the M1 has 4 efficiency, even the 2018 iPad Pro, which was when the X variant, the predecessor for the M1, that's funny, macOS boob. And basically, it was a little bit weird to see them go down to 2. I would guess that the reason they did that is for die size, because the larger you make a CPU die, the lower the yield rate is.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes pretty expensive to make them. And someone says that they think it could be CPU stacked. They could also do a chiplet design like AMD has done. I'm very, very curious to see how Apple does this, because realistically, Apple making these changes gives us clues into how they're going to go about their future lineup. And in fact, one of the things that I talked about in my video on these MacBook Pros was a purported diagram that laid out future Apple Silicon chips. And a lot of people were wondering why some of the larger chips had like 10 efficiency cores. It seems weird. However, I think the reason that the efficiency cores would scale is that the way that Apple is probably going to scale this chiplet is basically just by combining them. So an M1X being 8 to 32 in terms of performance efficiency GPU, and then put two of those together. You get 16, 4, 64.
Right.
You put four of those together, you get like 40 cores with 8 efficiency cores and 128 GPU. Is my mental math correct on that?
Yes.
That's impressive. I can't believe I did that right, unless I didn't do it right.
32 performance cores?
Yep. With 8 efficiency and 128 GPU.
Yes.
Look at that. I did that all as my sentence was coming out. That's pretty impressive.
That's good.
I'll give my horn a little toot on that one. But yeah, so that's basically what we are saying is 20 cores will probably be, I don't think we'll see that chip this year. And then 40 would be on a super, very, very, very expensive Mac Pro. And I think basically what we're looking at is a scalable architecture. Obviously, performance won't scale equally, but that is basically going to what we see tomorrow, if they do in fact do this, because obviously none of this is confirmed. That's going to basically tell us how Apple is scaling for the future. But outside of the chips, we do know a decent amount about these MacBook Pros from what we've talked about and what you've seen. What do you think is the most compelling for the average person?
What new featers of the
of
the Macs?
What we've heard about, design, battery, ports, all that stuff.
It's a good question. I think one thing I'll say is bringing back some of the ports. I think a lot of people will like that. I'm not sure for me how much I would care. But for example, the SD card slot, that was one of the rumors that it was coming back.
Yeah,
right?
that would be really great. A ton of people. MacBook Pros are super common for video work on the go, as well as photography. And I know for a fact that I, as well as many, many, many people, would be really happy to have that back.
Yeah, so that's one of the big ones. HDMI, I think, was another one. That would be pretty convenient to have if you need to plug your computer into a screen quickly.
I actually had a situation just the other day where I wanted to plug in my MacBook Pro to a monitor, but I was at home, and since I'm moving or have moved to the studio, I've taken most of my gear here, and I realized I did not have any adapters. And it was the first time in like years where I literally was just like, well, I can't plug this in. I had no like, oh, let me pull a cord from this or a Thunderbolt cord from that drive that I can repurpose and plug into it. Like, I had nothing.
It's funny. I think the same thing happened to me like a month ago, but then it also happened somewhat recently. And I had to take that Thunderbolt dock that I have, the same one that you have.
Yeah.
It's like big Thunderbolt dock, and I had to unwire it from my desk, and I had to, plug it in next to my TV just because it had an HDMI port on that dock. So there are definitely times where HDMI will be nice. Obviously, you can have a dongle, but built in, there are times where built in will be nice.
Now, the thing that was interesting about this is, so there's going to be 3 Thunderbolt ports, which is a weird number because the controllers are 2 pairs.
right.
So theoretically, that leaves the bandwidth for that 4th port left over. Now we know that the bandwidth of a Thunderbolt port or USB 4 port is pretty big. So certainly that's more than enough to handle the HDMI and the SD card simultaneously with full speeds.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I will say is if, as it seems almost guaranteed, those 2 ports will be on that Thunderbolt controller
Mm-hmm.
or will be passing bandwidth through that, I don't see why they wouldn't put a UHS 2 SD card slot. It's what the iMac Pro has. It's a lot more bandwidth, but it's still well within the reach of Thunderbolt. So that would be awesome. Another thing that I was saying, even during our stream in April, was, can we get the Ethernet on the power supply? That would be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We know that it's going to be a MagSafe supply, even if it's not. Like, it's USB-C. Obviously, you can do Thunderbolt over USB-C just as is. So they would just need a different USB-C cable, and they could easily pass an Ethernet signal through that. But I really do think if we're going to have 3 Thunderbolt ports, I think MagSafe is going to be more than just charging. I don't see why Apple would bring it back for just charging. I just don't think that makes sense, you know?
Yeah, I could see them putting Ethernet in the brick. Obviously, the power connector on an iMac is different than MagSafe. It is magnetic. It's a different
True.
shape, but I could definitely see if they. I guess that's sort of just one part of the brick that they could swap out for a MagSafe. But I was going to ask: is the MagSafe in addition to 3 USB-Cs or 3 Thunderbolt ports?
Correct.
So you get the MagSafe and you get 3 ports.
Yes.
Because I was going to say going from 4 down to 3 would have been, even with the other ports, would have been a little bit tough. But you know, if you're probably gonna,
That's true.
If you have 4 ports being used, you're probably, one of them is probably gonna be the charger at that point.
That's true, because on like a 16-inch, you've got 4 ports, but if you're charging it, you're using one of the ports.
Right.
Granted, you could also use it with a hub or a monitor that uses power delivery over that connection for a display.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that at the very least, Apple could integrate that in the MagSafe. Like maybe an upcoming Apple monitor or a Pro Display XDR could come with the MagSafe connection instead, and then you would still have those Thunderbolt ports available. I just think that with Apple adding an additional Thunderbolt controller, but only one more port, it gives them a ton of bandwidth that they can really, really go to town with.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the 4 Thunderbolt ports that you get on the Intel Macs, you can really put a lot through those ports because they can take it. There's no like corner cutting when Apple puts 4 ports. Those are 4 full speed ports on there. I think what was it, Linus? I think they tested the new Mac Mini that added 10 gigabit Ethernet.
Yeah. I saw that.
And they basically just ran a ton of data through all the other ports to see if the Ethernet was pulling bandwidth, and it was not. So Apple does not cut these corners, and I think it's guaranteed that if MagSafe is coming back, it's not just going to be like, oh, well, now you can plug it in with a proprietary charger, and now you have to carry 2 chargers so that you can have your iPad and your MacBook, because no longer they're the same.
Mm-hmm.
That part's going to be a little annoying.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I'm traveling, okay, I feel like here's the solution, right? In my ideal world that I've come up with in my mind, my desk at home has my MagSafe charger with the Ethernet plugged in. It stays there.
Mm-hmm.
It's my base station.
Uh-huh.
When I'm on the go, I have a USB-C charger so that I can do my MacBook and my iPad. And then I leave my MagSafe with the Ethernet plugged in at home.
Yeah.
I could see that. Yes, I would have to buy another charger. But
I'm sure you have one lying around.
Well, the royal eye.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Like you would have to have 2 chargers, but I feel like that's not that uncommon. A lot of people have 2 chargers.
that would also kind of defeat the purpose of MagSafe, though, if you leave it at home sitting on your desk all the time.
Well, I mean, that wouldn't be its intended function. That's just how I would use it.
yeah, it's true.
As far as other tidbits, I think I told you about this, but one of the things that I reported on that I don't know if I've seen anywhere else was up to about 30 hours of battery life on the 16-inch.
Oh, right.
Because the battery is pretty similar to the current 16-inch, which is already about 10, 11 hours. It's pretty good. But that's with a 35-watt GPU and a 45-watt CPU that's just sucking on electricity all day long. You completely remove, like, you shrink the board a lot, so you have a lot less just loss over distance with that SoC. And you cut out the middleman, no more dedicated GPU. You can probably fit the whole package into 45, 65 watts.
And the fans, don't have to worry about the fans as much.
Yeah. I mean, they don't use a ton of electricity, but
Right.
it's mainly what they're cooling that is the concern, and you wouldn't have to worry about that as much. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. We went a little bit over time here, but we're gonna pick up all of this stuff in like 12 hours.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it's 14 hours from now we will be back.
It's exciting.
That is exciting. We're basically just gonna go sleep and then come back. So yeah, I mean that's gonna do it for us here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've been your host, Luke Miani.
And I've been your host, Noah Rubin. If you're watching this live, we will see you tomorrow.
And if you're listening to this, we will see you, I don't know, now, if you timed it right.
Yeah.
Have a good one.